New comic book day is almost here, and this one is a doozy. Let's see what's on the pull list. Welcome back to Comics Are Dope. I'm BJ Kicks, and this is the pull list. It's my weekly series where I take a look at all the books coming out, and boy, are there a lot of books coming out for this week of new comics. Wednesday, March 26th. I'll tell you what's on my pull list, what's in danger of falling off. We'll even talk about some new series that are on the radar for this week in new comics. Wednesday, March 26th, 2025. The last new comic book day of the month, therefore the last new comic book day of the quarter. And boy, are these publishers trying to juice up the numbers for the first quarter of 2025. There are so many books coming out. And it's not even just that there's a lot of books. There's a lot of books and there's a lot of hyped projects coming out this week in new comics. But I got you covered. We're going to talk about most of them because, sheesh, we'll be here all night talking about them all. We're going to start with the books at the top of the pile. These are the books that I am most excited to grab. These are waiting for me at my LCS, Fight or Flight Comics. I heard that the sale went super great last weekend. So if you didn't make it, it's not my fault. I told you about it. I gave you a whole week's notice ahead of time. But anyway, inside Triangle Town Center Mall, these books will be waiting for me behind the counter. And these are the books that I will be reading first when I get back home. Because why not? So we'll start things off with Batman, issue 158. This is the epic beginning of Batman Hush 2, or Hattusha. Because why is the 2 right there? But anyway, this is the epic, thrilling return of Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee. Now, Hush is special for me. The original Hush story, when I first got into comics in 2019, I was only reading House of X and Powers of 10. I picked up a random issue of Tom King's Batman. I think it was issue 68, and it was like Lois Lane and Catwoman in the Fortress of Solitude having like a bachelorette type party, like a weird, I don't know. But I was like, it had this really cool Francisco Mattina cover that depicted Batman looking almost like a vampire. And there was no vampire action in that book. And that was my first lesson in not judging a comic by its cover. But all that to say, it threw me off so much. So I'm talking to one of my coworkers. He's into comics. He's like, oh, well, first of all, if you're looking to get like just a straight up good story, go look for a trade paperback. And I'm like, what is a trade paperback? And he was like, it's like this. And I was like, oh, okay. So he's like, go get a trade paperback. And then he's like, if you are looking for good comic book artwork, it begins and ends with Jim Lee. And I was like, bet. And so I went to the comic shop and grabbed a trade paperback of Batman Hush. And gotta say, it didn't disappoint. Get a nice little crash course on all the rogues with some of the best comic art I have ever seen still. And that book is almost 20 years old. Was Hush 2006? That book is almost 20 years old. But anyway, Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee are tuning up the old horse once again to jump back in the saddle. Do you tune up horses? You tune up things with horsepower. The point is, they're coming back to this mythos 20 years later. And what's interesting about that to me is they're taking over the mainline Batman title just like they did all those years ago. And we are, I think Hush was 2003, but they're taking over just like they did all those years ago. And I don't know, like something about it feels like, yes, it's a cash grab, but it's like there is this like, can they capture the magic again feeling that, I don't know. I will say I've seen a few preview pages. The art looks good, but I'm ready to see the whole thing. Batman 158 out this week. Cover price is $4.99. Next up at the top of the pile from our friends at Dynamite Entertainment is Darkwing Duck, issue number 2. Darkwing Duck, written by Daniel Kibblesmith. I believe the artists are Rose Stein, and who else is Ted Brandt and Rose Stein. Let me tell you, first of all, I'm a big fan of Darkwing Duck, so there's not much you can do in a Darkwing comic that's going to make me not want to buy it. The previous series by Amanda Dibert with Carlos Sid Laurel, great stuff. I loved it. Was it always Carlo Laurel? I want to say Carlo Loro did Justice Ducks. I can't remember who did the Darkwing series, but the point of it all is I enjoyed that series, and that series felt like it was kind of like a continuation of the animated series. It's like if Darkwing was still doing stuff right now, what would he be doing? And I loved that about it. This series, though, is Darkwing Year 1. Part 1 of 12 is what we got last time around. And it was great. It was like being able to see Drake Mallard in the early days of his career. And you know, the thing that makes Darkwing is his ego. And to see Darkwing in the early years before he's all like, he's always sure of himself, but before he's like proven, and this whole thing, he's on this mission to find his arch nemesis is great. It's great stuff. This is a great story. I loved issue 1. Can't wait for the rest of it. And the art in this versus like the art in the last one, it's almost like checking out the art on like your favorite animated series on TV to like the art when they turn that animated series into a movie. Like it's just that much more cinematic, a little darker, a little richer in tone. I really like the art and colors in this book. Darkwing Duck, issue number 1. I have no notes. It was great. I can't wait to read issue 2 out this week with a cover price of $4.99. Next up, from Tom King and Daniel Sampere is Wonder Woman, issue number 19. This series has been great. The only time I didn't like it was when we were tying into Absolute Power. And hey, that was like 3 years ago in comic years, right? So Wonder Woman 19, we're finally getting the end of the Sovereign story arc. And I've been enjoying it all the way, but I'm excited to kind of get the end of this and get thrust into whatever the next thing is going to be. Because this feels like it's the makings of a very long and epic run on Wonder Woman. So I'm excited by that. Wonder Woman issue 19, cover price on that is also $4.99. Remember when comics weren't always $4.99? Wasn't even that long ago. But anyway, next up, we got some entries from Marvel Comics, starting with Uncanny X-Men issue number 12. Now, if you were watching last week, you know that the entire X line was kind of on the fledgling floor. It's on life support with my pull list. But after the events of the X-Manhunt Omega, which does also come out this week, but we're not covering it here. The X-Manhunt ends this week, and then we've got this sort of standalone or one-shot Gambit issue of Uncanny X-Men. And what I like about it is Gavin Guidry is drawing it. Friend of the channel, Gavin Guidry. You might remember Gavin Guidry from Superman 78. Whatever the sequel to Superman 78 was called, Gavin Guidry drew it. And it looks great. His style is it's like retro, but with like some modern flair. It's not quite like, I don't know, reading some 60s comic or something. It feels like it's inspired by animation. It's really smooth and clean lines, not a lot of cross hatching and stuff. But again, it feels modern at the same time. I love his art style. I really want to own a piece of original art. He's probably going to have pages from this issue on sale. And I should probably cut this part out of the video so you guys don't go looking for it so that I can afford to buy one. But anyway, Uncanny X-Men issue 12 out this week. Cover price is $4.99. Next up is Ultimate Spider-Man issue 15, the last book at the top of the pile this week. Ultimate Spider-Man, I had been behind on for a while. I finally got caught up this week. And why didn't y'all tell me this book was so good? Like, I knew it was good when I stopped reading it, but it's gotten so much better in the last 3 issues. Like all those complaints about the plot not moving fast enough and there not being enough action, bro, they brought it in issues, 13 and 14. Well, from the end of it, from the very last page of issue 12 up until now, it has been super high stakes. It's Spider-Man. It's, Green Goblin in the Savage Land being hunted by the Kraven. That is crazy. It has been amazing. The stakes have just gotten so much higher. We got a new Black Cat. We got a new Black Cat and Spider-Man relationship that's very interesting to watch. We got the family in trouble. Everybody's in trouble. Everybody's in trouble. And it's like, who is going to make it out? And when they make it out, how is life going to be different for them? And that, again, is very fun to see. Ultimate Spider-Man is firing on all cylinders. Issue 15 is at the top of the pile this week. Cover price is $4.99. And that's it. That was the top of the pile. Those are the books I am most excited about reading this week in a stacked week of new comics. But it is time to talk about some new series that are on the radar. Now, the On the Radar segment is brought to you by Global Comics, my favorite app for reading comics digitally. And Global Comics has been adding IDW comics to their library all month long. So we're going out with a bang for Legends Month. On Wednesday, March 26th, you'll be able to read all of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that you want to read, all of the IDW collection, all of the TMNT Reborn, the Sophie Campbell stuff, some of those Ultimate collections, the Saturday Morning Adventures. I feel like I'm leaving stuff out. The Last Ronin. There's a lot of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to read, and it's all in Global Comics. Now, of course, you can buy those a la carte if you wanted to. In my opinion, the best way to interact with Global Comics is through the annual Gold Pass. And you can get that for 30% off if you go on a computer and use the link in the description down below. That's comicsaredope.com/global. And it saves you 30% on the annual pass. Don't say I never gave you nothing. I just gave you $30 of savings just for listening to this video. It's crazy. You can listen to a video, you can watch a video. Either way, the savings are there. But anyway, let's talk about the books that are on the radar this week. These are new series debuts, new jumping in points, new story arcs that should be on your radar. And I don't know if there's anything on the radar this week that has more hype surrounding it than Absolute Martian Manhunter issue number 1. This is written by Dennis Camp with art by Javi Rodriguez. Is that right? Did I write that correctly? Javier Rodriguez is on art for Absolute Martian Manhunter, and they've been hyping up the Absolute books. You tend to see a lot of comic creators online, especially if you're someone like me that follows like everybody on Twitter or Blue Sky. And everybody that has gotten an advanced copy of this book has been like, "This is the most amazing thing I've read all year." And I'm inclined to believe them because the other Dennis Camp book on my pull list right now is The Ultimates, and every issue is like the most amazing thing I've read that month. So I believe it. I'm very excited to see what his take on the Martian Manhunter is. I love that it looks different from anything I've ever seen when it comes to the Martian Manhunter. So I have no idea what to expect. And not knowing what to expect from a creator that you know is like really, really good, it's just fun. It gets you all giddy. Like I'm like, ooh, what's it gonna be? Absolute Martian Manhunter, issue number 1, out this week. Cover price is $4.99. And next up, another new series debut, or continuation, if you will. This is Bitter Root, The Next Movement. Bitter Root, written by David Walker and Chuck Brown, with art by Sanford Green. The GOAT, Sanford Green. The Doom one-shot wielding Sanford Green. I don't know, I just wanted to put some respect on Sanford Green's name. But Bitter Root, if you're not familiar with the original Bitter Root series, it was set during like the Harlem Renaissance period. So what's that? 1920s, early 1920s. But it's about this family, the Sangier family. And they are a family of monster hunters. They fight Jinnu. The Jinnu are these creatures, but where the creatures come from? They are humans, or they were once humans, that have been sort of infected by the bitter root of racism. So like being infected by this root of bitterness turns them into these ridiculous monsters, and the Sangier family's got the cure for all that. They just slashing monsters everywhere you go. If you have never seen Sanford Green art, like for as much as I love Sanford Green, and for as much as, we put a lot on Sanford Green's art, a lot of times you only see him doing covers. And if you're lucky, you might get like a special poster or something like that here and there. This is the work to look at if you want to know what Sanford Green art looks like. Yes, I think the last interiors he did, well, obviously he did that Doom one shot with Jonathan Hickman a couple months ago. Before that, he was on Red Hood, The Hill, and that was really good. But I feel like the quintessential Sanford Green work is Bitter Root. So I'm very excited to see him return. Bitter Root, The Next Movement, is a series basically following the next generation, or a new generation of the Sangier family. And this time it is set during the modern civil rights movement. of 1964 and 1965. So the height of what we think about when we think about racism outside of slavery is the early 60s. And so I'm very excited to see them take it to some Klansmen and whomever else might be in their path. I'm excited about this, and I can't hide my excitement. Cover price on this is only $3.99, and I'm grabbing cover A. Next up is a brand new series from Matthew Rosenberg and Stefano Landini. This is We're Taking Everyone Down With Us, issue number 1. This book is about a 13-year-old girl whose parents were murdered by like some kind of spy organization. And she's got this robot bodyguard that her dad built that's following her around. And according to the solicit, she's got 2 choices. She can, live out a regular life, a nice quiet life, or she can take it to the folks that took it to her parents. She can get revenge. And if I know anything about comics, she's going to go for that second option. And I'm excited about it because the last time I read a book written by Matthew Rosenberg where the lead was like a teenage girl, that book was called 4 Kids Walk Into a Bank. And it was one of my favorite things I've ever read in the history of ever. So he's got a blank check to write for I don't know what I was trying to say. The point is, you put Matthew Rosenberg's name on a book and you give it a young lead, I'm going to buy it. And exactly what I'm doing with this one. $4.99 is the cover price. Next up, a new one-shot from Patrick Horvath, published by Oni Press. This is Free for All, issue number 1. Like I said, it's a one-shot. But this is like a billionaire fight club. So in this world, there is some kind of big governing body that basically says, hey, to all the world's billionaires, to the wealthiest elites, at random, we will pick one of you or 2 of you, and you got a couple options. You can either donate all your wealth to a charity or to us or whatever, or you can keep it. But if you want to keep it, you got to go into like gladiator style combat and literally fight to the death. So if you lose, you die. But if you win, you get to keep all the stuff that you've kept. So, of course, there are people who still have, hordes and hordes of things. And so this guy, I can't remember his name, but basically he's like this super wealthy, like real estate tycoon. He's been the reigning gladiator champion for who knows how long. And he's about to be put up against his ex-wife. And they're going to have to fight it out to the death or not to the death. I don't know. We only got 40 pages to find out. And that sounds super interesting. Now, Patrick Horvath, you know him from Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. There is a sequel to that coming soon from IDW, by the way. But that was like kind of the surprise hit. It's this, cute teddy bears, but it's like serial killers and, chopping up body parts and all those things, right? This one is still the same kind of thing. It's very bloody. It's very gory, but this one does not have the veneer of being for children. There's no like juxtaposition like that. This is just straight up. What you see is what you get. And 40 pages of it should be pretty fun. Cover price is $7.99 though. And the last one up on the radar this week is Godzilla versus the Fantastic Four from Marvel Comics, of course. There's been a whole lot of kaijus and Godzilla stuff coming out lately. They did the Godzilla LA wildfires benefit. They had a Godzilla with like classic literature characters. I think both of those were by IDW. Marvel's doing Godzilla stuff. DC's got Godzilla versus the Justice League and all that. Anyway, Marvel's version of that is pitting Godzilla against, whomever is this month's Marvel character of the month. This month it's the Fantastic Four. So if you like Godzilla or you like Fantastic Four, or ideally you like both, Godzilla versus the Fantastic Four is the one shot for you. $4.99 is the cover price. And those are all the books on the radar. The new series debuts, jumping in points, things that just sounded interesting when I was going through the solicits. And now things that maybe sound a little less interesting. These are the Fledgling 4. Now, the Fledgling 4, these are titles that are still on my pull list. I'm still going to buy them tomorrow when I go to the shop, but they have fallen to the bottom of the reading pile for whatever reason, usually because I'm just crazy busy and forgot they existed, right? And so I got 2 choices. I can read these and say, all right, these are pull list worthy titles. Or I'm going to read these and be like, you know what? Let's just cut the line right here. Let's just stop buying this book. So let's see which titles are on life support this week. Starting with Wolverine, Revenge, the Red Band edition, issue number 5. This kind of like technically doesn't count because it's the last issue of the miniseries, but I haven't read an issue since issue 2. I think what I was excited about was, it's written by Jonathan Hickman, so that's cool in itself. But I was excited because this was supposed to be like Greg Capullo's last hurrah, drawing a monthly feature. And, with the whole Red Band thing, it's like, oh, you get a couple of extra panels or pages of gory content. And it's like, for me, it's Greg Capullo drawing Wolverine and he gets a chance to do like extra blood and guts. That's going to be the coolest looking stuff ever. But I feel like the novelty of that kind of wore off with me pretty quickly. And then issue 3 got like severely delayed and I forgot this book existed, but it is still on my pull list. So I probably will buy it and forget to read it until the trade paperback comes out. But in case you forgot, Wolverine Revenge is out this week. Issue 5, the final issue. Cover price is $5.99. Next up on the Fledgling 4 for me is Absolute Wonder Woman, issue number 6. Now, I have kind of fallen behind on all of my comics, but I've recently caught back up with Absolute Batman as well as Absolute Superman. I'm still an issue behind on Absolute Superman. Absolute Wonder Woman is at the bottom of the Absolute pile for me. So I haven't read an issue since issue 2. And quite honestly, the mainline Wonder Woman book is doing it for me. Like, it's enough for me. And I think one good Wonder Woman book is enough good Wonder Woman books for me. So this will probably be something that I'll wait for in the trades after issue 6 is done. But I do need to read it at least to decide if that's the case or if I want to keep continuing this month to month. But I got DC Ultra. I'll probably just wait for the trade and drop to digital for that. Cover price on that is $4.99. Next up is not really Fledgling, but this is Fantastic Four issue number 30. The only reason I put it on this list is because I feel like issue 29 just came out like a week and a half ago. Why is issue 30 out already? Okay, so this is the part where I go on a insanely long rant about how comics should be monthly and not weekly, and we shouldn't be subjected to these publishers' schemes and plans. And then I went and checked the calendar before I recorded this or edited this, and it turns out this book came out a month ago. I'm just living in a time warp. My bad, y'all. I'm still sleep deprived. Whatever. The point is, though, that Fantastic Four by Ryan North is still going on. I do know they are relaunching it soon, so I'm not going to drop this book. I've been collecting it from issue 1. I'm going to collect it until issue 34 or whatever issue that's going to be when they relaunch it in July. So we'll get through One World Under Doom, and that's going to set up the new status quo. And then new Fantastic Four number 1 by Ryan North coming soon. Cover price on this one, though, is $4.99. And the last book in the Fledgling 4 is actually Fledgling this time. This is DuckTales, issue number 4. DuckTales written by Brandon Montclair, and the art in DuckTales, is by, sorry, I couldn't resist. The art in DuckTales is by Tommaso Randa. I read issue 1. Issue 1 was cool. It felt more like an issue 0 or like a free comic book day preview to me. But I like the guts of what we got. There's throwback or callbacks to like classic, like sort of Carl Barks era Uncle Scrooge comics. I like that. There's also like cool adventure stuff going on. So there's stuff that I like about DuckTales number 1. The problem is that I moved right after DuckTales number 1 came out. And I don't know where issue 2 is, let alone issue 3. But issue 4 is out this week. Cover price on that is $4.99. And those are all of the books on the Fledgling 4 this week. Those books are kind of on life support. And I don't know if the excitement with which I talk about them is any indicator, we might not see them on the pull list anymore. But now it's time for one of your favorite new segments on the channel. This is Trade Waiting. These are new trade paperback collections. For the first time, you're getting to see these stories outside of their single issue periodical format. And if you were waiting like me, or you forgot about a book or whatever, for whatever reason, you weren't picking it up in singles, now's your chance to grab it in trades, sit down for an afternoon and get caught up. like I'm doing with Ultimate X-Men. I finally bought volume 1, even though I got 6 issues sitting in a short box somewhere. It was easier for me to just grab this so I can read this and get caught up on Ultimate X-Men. So for those of you who are like me, all these trade paperbacks are coming out this weekend. You should check them out, starting with X-Force Volume 1, titled Fractures. It's written by Jeff Thorne with art by Marcus Toe. The art on this is amazing. The story is also amazing. Basically, after the whole Krakoa era has ended, Forge is starting up his own X-Force team. And basically, Forge has invented this device that can kind of see like world-ending cataclysmic events shortly before they happen. And so Forge, his mutant ability is to like fix any problem that exists. And so he's a great person to put together a team. Like when we talk about Justice League Unlimited, which is coming out this week, and I didn't have time to talk about it. But about how like Red Tornado's AI is putting teams together. That's basically what Forge does as well. He kind of puts the puzzle pieces together. Like, I need this mutant. I'll put together a circuit and we're going to solve this problem. And each issue is basically a one and done storyline. And each issue has like some callback to some classic Marvel story that you may or may not have known existed. I'm in the may not crowd. I didn't know, but lucky for me, Jeff Thorne has a Patreon where he explains all the deep cuts and annotations and stuff like that. It's been a really fun series. I'm going to be sad to see this go because it's going to end with issue 10 soon. But for now, grab issues 1 through 5 in the trade paperback. Cover price is $17.99, which is also the cover price on this next book. It's Nightwing Volume 7, Fallen Grayson. This is the Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo series finale. Wrapping up the Heartless storyline and all the things that we have been building for the last 2-3 years, 4 years with Nightwing. Again, this was a really good series from issue 78 all the way to 105, which is, I believe, where this ended. This is issues 100 through 105, and man, it's good stuff. It's really good stuff, and it's the end of an era. Trade paperback is out this week, as well as the standard size hardcover. You can pick your poison. Trade paperback is $17.99. I think you're going to pay $7 more for the hardcover. Next up, speaking of hardcovers, Batman Dark Age by Mark Russell, Mike and Laura Allred. These are all, but I always want to say Gloria Allred. Isn't that a lawyer? She's like an attorney or something. Anyway, the Allreds are doing the art on this Batman Dark Age hardcover. It's kind of like a companion book to Superman Space Age. I didn't read Superman Space Age, but I'm a sucker for Batman. And that art team did Batman 66, or a lot of it. So it's on my radar this week. Cover price on that hardcover, though, is $39.99. Though it was a DC Black Label book, and I think it's that magazine size prestige book or format hardcover. So that would explain the higher price. Next up, this is called Reversal. This is a fantasy action adventure book from Alex DeCampi and Skylar Partridge. That creative team kind of perked my ears up. It's about this kid who lives in this area where there's like an enchanted forest nearby. It's like the magical creatures keep coming onto this block and scaring people. Is it a him or a her? I can't remember. But per the solicit, coming onto their block, scaring them, they find like a magic wand or some sort of magic instrument. And now they are going to use it and its power to maybe free their town of the terror that has been flapping in the night. I'm delirious. I'm tired. It's late at night when I'm filming this. The point is the synopsis of Reversal sounds really interesting. And like I said, it's written by Alex DeCampi with art by Skylar Partridge. Skylar Partridge was doing Supergirl backup stories in Action Comics during that Mark Waid run not too long ago. And I really, really liked their art. So Reversal is on the radar. Cover price on that is $29.99. And the last trade on the list is The Holy Roller. The Holy Roller, written by Rick Remender. This, I don't know who does the art, but this collects issues 1 through 9, the full series. There's this dude who goes back to his small town where I think his dad's a priest or something. I don't know. But there's bad guys and he decides to be the Holy Roller, who literally like hits people with bowling balls. Like he's a bowling ball wielding vigilante, which sounds ridiculous, but I heard the series was really good. So if you want to check out all 9 issues for a very low price of just $19.99, you should do that this week. And that's it. I'm closing the iPad. Those were all the books that I'm trade waiting for. Those are all of the books on my pull list this week, or at least the ones I wanted to talk about the most. Like you get the top of the pile, you get the bottom of the pile. There's some middle of the road series going on. There's Superman, there's Justice League Unlimited. There's a lot of stuff happening on this pull list this week. I'm probably spending like $80 this week, which is crazy, but that's what happens when all the comic book publishers decide they want to wait till the last week of the quarter to sell some books. Anyway, what are you grabbing this week? Are you excited about it? Is Hush 2 the book on the top of your pile too? Probably. Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you in another video soon. Until then, stay safe, stay awesome, and read something dope today. Peace.